Alright guys, so in this video we're going to take a look at a newer kind of iteration, newer version of the Bafang front hub motor that is meant for 26-inch fat tires. So it's a little bit trickier to find these on AliExpress. I think they're maybe more common now. I got this a while ago. But so this is a Bafang, and so it's 135mm width, you know, from over here where it hooks to your dropouts and over here. So 135mm front motor. So it's got that FM prefix on there. FM.G061. So it's the G61. And then it's a 1000-watt version of the motor. And then the D just means that it's just, if it says DC, that means there's a cassette on there when it's a rear motor. But I think the front motors just always have that D at the end. And then so on this front motor, the windings here. So G61.1000.D, and then the windings are 5.5T. Pretty sure it's for a 26-inch wheel. It's got the 20-inch sticker on here, but I've seen that before. So then some notable things here is that we've got different motor cable. Right, so previously it was this L1019, this kind of guy over here. And now Bafang has this thing going, this red one. And I think it's an L1121 connector is what they call that. So it's got this red inner part to it, and then it still has kind of like a locking, like a threaded locking kind of connector on here. So then when you lock it on, you can kind of see the red stripe there. I'm not sure what the pinout is or how it works. This also has a 14mm axle. So the hardware that comes with this thing is really chunky. So let's take a look at the axle nut, and then the tabbed anti-rotation washer that you usually use in your dropouts to hold the motor in the dropouts and prevent the axle from twisting and spinning in the dropouts. So here's the axle nut. So it's an M14, and it's a flange nut. Actually, I don't know. It doesn't have the flanges on the bottom of this. I think it probably goes up against a washer or something. So previously, these motors, they always had the flange, kind of like the, well, often they would have a flange nut, or else something like this, kind of, right? These guys, this is an M12 one, so look how big and chunky this thing is compared to this. Huge, absolutely huge. And then it's nylock. It's got that nylon locking thing in there too. And so here is the tabbed anti-rotation washer right here. And this thing is kind of flange, or it's got kind of like ridges on it, or ruffles, or whatever you want to call them. Huge. It feels nice and chunky compared to these. Let's get one of the older ones out of here. See, look at the difference here. It seems like it's about the same thickness, but then it seems like the tab is bigger on the M14 one. Perhaps. Maybe not. It's about the same, I guess. Or maybe, yeah, look at that. So the tab on this one goes deeper into the dropout. Bites on a little bit more. It's probably a good thing. So that's the M12 versus the newer M14 anti-rotational, tabbed anti-rotational washers that come with these motors. Here's what the other side of that motor connector looks like. So I bought this motor a while ago, I didn't realize it had the M14 axle when I bought it. I was gonna upgrade my 750 watt front motor, the G60, to a G61, but I didn't realize the axle was M14 instead of M12. So I would have had to kind of like relace my wheel and like lace this motor in, because the bearings on this thing, like the axle is bigger. It's an M14 axle, so like the bearings on this thing are a completely different size, and like the hole over here that the axle goes through is a different size, right? And so like if you try and stick, it might seem close, but like if you try and stick the M14 axle into the M12 axle hole over on this other motor, like it just doesn't fit, right? Like you can't take one of these M14 motors and just take the guts out and then pop it into an M12 shell. Like this shell, the bearings on this thing are actually like a different size physically. So my plan was foiled. My plans of upgrading my other front motor to this one, so it's just been kind of sitting around and hanging out. I've never opened it up yet, but we're going to open it up today. So another thing I noticed that's different about this thing is so on the front motors, the cable comes out the right side, so the rotor goes over here, the brake rotor on the left side, non-drive side. And then here's the right side with a big chunky M14 axle. A big axle flat on this thing. Compared to the other axles, the flats are quite a bit longer, a couple millimeters longer, so there's a lot more that bites onto the axle in terms of, or that bites onto your dropouts. So these axles are bigger because they bite into the dropouts better, and there's less chances of them like spinning around inside of the dropouts and spreading them. So then the other thing here is that we've got a nice little metal kind of thing here, and then there is some kind of additional like heat shrink or something going on here. I don't know. It seems like that little metal thing kind of starts right here, goes to about there, and then they must heat shrink this on there just to keep this metal in place or something, I guess. So I gotta open this thing up, and we're gonna take a look inside of it. And what I want to do here is I want to see what the inside of it looks like, just because I've never done that. And then also I'm repairing my other motor, and I need another one of these key stocks, these little, like this little piece that goes in there, and it usually goes onto the axle right here, right? And then so when you've got your planetary gear carrier right here, it's got that little keyed slot down there, and then it goes onto the axle in such a way where that little key slot lines up with the key stock right here, and that's what bites between the axle and the planetary gears. But this one got damaged from doing regen braking, and it looks like this piece itself looks like it's about to break. So I'm just gonna grab another one, and I'm not gonna use this one because it is about to snap. I can see it's like cracked. It looks like it's cracked almost halfway through right here. I don't know if the GoPro can see that, but so I need to open this whole motor just to hopefully find this little piece, a new one of these guys, because I don't have any spare. So let's open this thing up. Another thing I've noticed about this front motor is that these little bolts that go on the cover, these little bolts, they have like a little tiny lock washer underneath them, like a split lock washer. I've never seen that. They usually just had bolts that go just go straight in there. So I'm gonna open this thing up and see what it looks like inside. Alright, so I think these are 2mm. Let's see here. Might be 2.5. I don't know. My little Allen kit is questionable here. So let's, well, they're on there pretty good here. Let's see. Yeah. They are secured on there fairly well from the factory. Okay, we broke that one loose. This one's got a little styrofoam in there, but I don't think that's gonna matter. Alright, so on this one, I don't know if it's just these 6 bolts, these 6 screws that go, let's see, how long? I wonder if it's these 6 screws that go on here, because there's no like lock nut over on this side of the axle at all that I can see. It just looks like a, So does this thing just come out the bottom here, or how does this work exactly? Like, is that all that was holding this together? Yeah, it seems like this thing is definitely probably just gonna drop out of here. It seems like they maybe torqued it on a little bit better on one side than the other side. Something. Seems like it's coming out, but it's just kind of coming out at a funny angle, and like one side of it is still kind of stuck on there. I wonder if this zip tie wiggling around, the zip tie can help get it off. I don't know if there's some kind of silicone in there, or it seems like there is some kind of like silicone or something that is down in here, perhaps, because something is coming. There's a little bit of something coming out of there as I get in here with this. Interesting. Oh. Okay. Came out of there. Wow. Was definitely sealed up. I can see it. You can see it right there. All right, so let's pull this guy open. Those bolts on the cover were also Loctited. Let's pull this guy out of the shell. Oh. So that's what we've got. Let's see here. So the bearing down in here, it says 6202RS. It says something about C and U. And it says something about 67A07. It looks kind of like there's just a bunch of white lithium grease in there. So then, so there's just this one inner bearing on this thing. It's just this one big, it's kind of like a, I feel like this bearing is wider, like thicker, wider than the other ones in the 12 millimeter ones. Interesting. Because on the other, if you have a G62 rear hub motor, I think it has 2 bearings over there, but this just has one. And then this thing is just kind of like a rubber grommet or something, maybe right here. Interesting. All right. So we looked at that. So here's this. And this is what I need right here. let's take a look at the, so on the planetary gear carrier, it says BFRM, so I think it's the same planetary gear carrier as the rear motors. BFRM G60.1000.D. So I think it, and then the arrow is pointing this way. And so it freewheels to the left. Spins freely to the left is what that arrow indicates. See that? Alright, so I can spin it to the left, and it's actually this thing right here that's spinning freely to the left, this clutch that's inside of the planetary gear carrier. And then when I go right, everything bites down and the whole motor twists together. And that's how the motor coasts. When your wheel is just going, but the motor's not going, then your wheel can spin freely, and this thing just lets the wheel spin. But then when the motor starts going, it's spinning the wheel. So this little arrow on here indicates the direction that this clutch right here can freewheel. So what I need is just that little parallel key down on here. Seems like the same one. So I should be able to use it to repair my other motor. So I don't even know if I'm going to need the gear puller to get this clutch off of here. It does look like this motor spun around at some point, and somebody like, maybe I spun it around, I don't know. But the motor is like, you can tell when it's been spun around, and kind of like the grease goes around and stuff. But all of the, let's spin it over, let's see here, what do we got in here? Oh, interesting. Sometimes it's kind of a little, oh my goodness, what is that big thing in there? There's like a big connector in there. Interesting. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like a big, it looks like that's the magnet sensor. It's really sticking up in this motor. It sticks up quite a bit. There's a lot of room in there. And then the circuit board in there says FM.G061.1000.D let's see here. Can we get this cover off? How far can we get this cover off before it becomes a huge annoyance? Can it get over this? Yeah, that's not something that I really want to do right now. What is that? That's kind of a goober right there. Weird. I don't know what that is. The windings. What is that? The windings on these new hub motors look pretty good. Like Bafang improved their rotors at some point, and the windings look a lot cleaner. Does this thing have a temperature sensor? Let's see. Man, I just wrestled that cover off of my other hub motor, and I really don't want to wrestle this one anywhere right now, so I don't know. I'm not sure if this one has a temperature sensor or not. You can see there's like a purple marking right here on this hull 2. It looks like the circuit board, like the little solder things, like you could probably solder a thermistor in there. I don't think they have temperature sensors. The Bafang ones. It does have kind of like a goober of thermal stuff underneath the hall sensor, but it looks like it's just to keep all the wires glued to the bottom of the circuit board and not moving around. I will also say that the phase wires, look pretty decent. Cross section. All right. So let's. Is that all the? Yeah, that's all the farther. There's such a big gap. Is this rotor? Yeah, that rotor is the same width as the G62 one. All right. Well, there's inside of my. Whoop, got white lithium grease all over. There's the inside of the G61 1000 watt front hub motor. And then I'm just going to do what I came here to do. and get this planetary gear carrier off of here. Should be easy. If the motor has never been used before, oops, let's keep that lithium grease down in there. So it should be easy to get this thing up. Yeah. So this thing, all right, so we want to tilt this sideways so we don't lose this thing inside of there. All right, so let's tilt this guy. And then we'll just, so when you've never used the motor before, you can usually pull this thing off with your fingers. And that is like a way of telling if a motor's been used. Because once you've used the motor, that little parallel clutch key, the key stock inside of there that I'm going to get out in a second, that thing will be like wedged in there. And then you have to like really use some leverage or some kind of mechanical, like a gear puller or something to get this off once it's been wedged on there. But I can tell that this is a new motor just because it comes off so easy. And we're getting the white Bafang lithium grease all over. Come on, get off of there, buddy. Oh, it's got to come off a long ways, doesn't it? Let's see here. Man, that is some tacky white lithium grease. It smells really funny. Whatever they're using in there. So let's see here. Can we just do this? Can we get this thing off of there? Like, oh boy, might as well. Might as well. We got this thing right here. We got it right here. And so again, when we're doing the gear puller, we don't want the gear puller jaws to be like touching any of the nylon at all, or it damages your nylon. Alright, so here's the moment of truth. Is it the same key stock, same deal? Man, it's in there fairly well. I think it's got the grease suction kind of holding it in there. Let's see. Let's see what is going on here. Let's grease off the rotor. Let's see. That is on there, buddy. Alright, so we're going to use the pliers to grab this little buddy and hopefully pull him up out of there without damaging him. Oh, there it is. I had to push it forward a little bit. It was kind of like wiggling around in there. So now can I... Oh! It's really in there. Is it coming out now? What the heck? The thing, is this the same size? Alright guys, well that was a quick look inside of this Bafang G61 front motor. Man, that white lithium grease is so tacky. That's crazy, man. Like, let me know what you guys think about that. People are always giving me shit about putting the Mobilith SHC 100 in mine. But this stuff is like super tacky and sticky. There's no way that this factory grease, this white stuff that they have in here, is what you want. It is so tacky and sticky. It's like a paste. So, alright, well that was this look at the front motor, the FM.G061, G61 1000 watt front motor for a 135mm FatBike dropout. I'm just gonna have to remember that the planetary gear carrier in here does not have that parallel key in there. This is a brand new motor that I've never used yet, so. But both of my spare motors, I've had to take that little parallel key stock out of so that I could fix the motor that I do use. So I've got two motors now that are missing that little bit. So when you're putting this back on, you kind of have to, oh, there we go. Just slid right on there. So easy. All right, well, that was it for, this was just a little peek inside the G61 front hub motor. And maybe someday I'll get that thing on a bike and use it. But for now, it's going back in the box. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment about this hub motor and the small little changes they made to these. Let me know what you think. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Going back to my other video. Bye-bye.